Well, I actually met you when I was about 15. And I don't know if you remember, but I came to your office. I made an appointment with the Mayor of Carterton to come and talk to her about my confused feelings. And I sat down in your office and I said, look, this is what I'm feeling. I may be transgender. It's something I may look at doing in the future. And you said to me, whatever you do, think about it. Think about it very seriously. It's not something that you just take lightly. You've got to really, really think about it, and if you want it. And that's what you said to me. And that's what I remember from that day.
Well, I don't recall that actual incident or event specifically, because I had a few people who came and approached me at various times over the years to ask precisely those questions. And I was always extremely cautious about what kind of advice I would give, because I'm not a trained expert in anything like that. I could only give you the experience of my own life and my own sort of judgments about that sort of thing. So I'm so glad that I gave the right, advice at that time to think about it very seriously, because I can recall myself that the urge to want to do this now and to have this sort of confirmed that I am transsexual and that, I want to go through the, sort of whole process. But, I was 16 or so when I sort of had decided that was going to be my goal and aim in life, was to fulfil my, my absolute need and desire to be a woman, and probably made a few rash decisions because I had no information, no knowledge. I was just sort of living the thing. I was put it all up, and I just didn't want to give advice to people that sent them on a path that they themselves didn't make the decision. That, oh, well, I said that this is what you should do, and off you run off and do it. It could have been all wrong. But obviously it hasn't been. And, when you're compelled through, well, how do you explain what it is you need to do? You just know you have to do it. And that every time you get knocked back, punished, criticised, ridiculed, have your nose rubbed in it, whatever, and you still come out the other side going, no, this is my conviction. This is what I must do in order to function in life and be happy in my own skin. And so I'm so glad that you've made that decision for yourself. Rather than some outside person coming in and sort of saying, oh yes, and now this is the path you must take. Because, when you know you've done it yourself and that your heart and soul is convinced that that's right for me, and then when you start to liberate yourself, despite social disapproval or whatever, you still feel right, in fact confident and stronger, then you've made the right decision for you. It's not easy. So I'm glad, it turned out well. I was just explaining to someone before that I had some grandparents bring their grandsons to visit me when I was MP, and they came to my Dannyburg office, and this elderly couple sort of saying, my boys want to go to Auckland to go and become transgenders and work on K Road. And I said, well, no, you don't want to work on K Road. Not if you're going to avoid it. And I spent about an hour with these young guys, and they were convinced, and they all sat there in awe of me and things like that, thinking that it was a glamorous, wonderful life, and I soon put that right, that it was not, and like that. And I sort of said to them, look, after I'd spent this time with them, I said, my gut feeling is that you are not transsexuals. And I don't think you should be thinking of going and doing that right at this point. They were young, they were teenagers. And a few years later, they went out of their way to come and see me again, and they said how right I was. They had discovered that wouldn't have been the right life for them, that yes, they were gay, and yes, they liked hopping into drag now and again, but they weren't transsexual. And they were so grateful that I helped to lead them away from that path, because at that time they were convinced that that's what they were. But I sort of had a feeling that, no, you might be gay, you maybe have a fascination with drag, but you don't want to go and change sex. And that was, the right call. It's very hard when you're not a professional, as a doctor or a psychologist. I'm not, I haven't got letters after my name whereby I could confidently go and, say things. It was like it was with you, that I can only give you my experience. Exactly. and then let you decide. So I have issues these days actually with some of the debate that goes on in the transgender community about 7-year-old children being put on a planned path of, puberty blockers and things like that before they hit all of that. And I'm sort of thinking, it doesn't matter whether you do that sort of stuff if you are still compelled when you're old enough to make the decision to go ahead and go forward. With that kind of life thing.
Probably my mother suggested I go and see Georgina. Okay. And I would have been interested in seeing her because it's that intrigue that you see someone that you can relate to, And I was very, very lucky to get into your office. I felt very, very lucky to be able to go and talk to you.
Well, people that did that, other than yourself, who would come and see me, it was only because I guess in the country at that time I was the most high profile transsexual. I was the first transsexual to be elected into public office as a mayor and as a MP. And so yes, that gave me profile. But I'd sort of been in the public eye quite a bit beforehand with television work that I used to do. I was really fortunate, in this country at least anyhow, to be in some television dramas and programs that were serious. They weren't just caricatures or Carmen or that kind of thing.
I was just going to mention Carmen. Carmen was the icebreaker, the trailblazer, yeah?
Well, one of them. There are numerous others who are unsung heroes, people who I owe my ability to have got on in life because of what they went through. I always pay homage to those who went before me, like Carmen, but Chrissy Weetoku, Nicole DeVal. There are a few others who have done things. I mean, Carmen and her working girls had to endure the laws of the day, and because it was indeterminate about how do you convict a person who's now a woman, but under our law they're men, and there are all sorts of little law changes that occurred because they'd have to front up to court and the law didn't know how to treat them because we were either men or woman, there was no in-between. I cannot believe that we are still grizzling over the goddamn toilet issue. It is a red herring as far as I'm concerned, and transgenders, there are the new young activists today who've got to say, we're going to have a toilet situation and that. We don't need to go back to that. For God's sake, we've got unisex toilets. I mean, do you have a men and women's in your house? No, you don't. And so, please get rid of that one. That's just really, an irrelevancy as far as I'm concerned. But these young ones today, sort of, the angst and, they have over rubbish.